Rich. Okay.
All right, Abby, the recording has started if you would like to get the meeting
Okay.
started.
All right. Call to order. This is a special meeting of the Calvert County Environmental Commission on May 27th at 6:01 p.m. And call for the quorum. Abby Ibarra's here. Rich.
Nell Fuller here.
Nell Fuller.
Dave Campbell's here.
Sarah Shields.
Dave. Jim. Rich.
Trapier.
And there's someone else here too.
Sarah Shields. I heard Sarah.
Oh, Sarah. Okay.
I do see Jeanette.
Okay, we have a quorum. I'd like hear a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting, May 27th. You guys can unmute your mics.
I will so move.
Okay, we have a motion to accept the agenda for this evening, and that is to approve the detailed proposal for the data center development final draft. Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay, we have a second. Any discussions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. And now, okay, ayes have it. Motion to approve the agenda has been approved. And okay, so here we have does everyone have a copy of the draft that it's been floating around today?
Yes.
Everybody has it. My thoughts after I read it is I like the way we opened up in terms of we laid out the elements that we think are the strongest elements that could allow the Board of County Commissioners to make a decision on whether to approve our recommendation or not. But we started off with the noise pollution. We started off with waste and management, and then we talked about the forest and endangered species. And do you think that's the way it opened up? Is that strong enough for everyone to feel comfortable with?
Yeah, I like it. I also just wanted to make sure that that aligns with our recommendations at the end of the report. Just so that we put those big things up front again, because we have a lot of recommendations at the end that aren't necessarily in those priorities that we put in the beginning.
That's correct. Yeah, I think that I read the same way. We and then we reiterate our position to the Board of County Commissioners, and that's the strength of our recommendations is to reiterate our recommendation for a pause and moratorium, but also by adding in detail the new sections that we didn't have in the first letter, which is specifically talking about noise, water. There also is a section in there that we have to discuss about the heat islands. I've been reading and seeing new studies and about the heat island effect. Not so much that it's overwhelming, but the fact that it exists and day after day after day, the long-term effects. So I know there's an element that to be concerned about, and that's the heat island effects because of the number of the high energy use, 24/7. There's a lot of energy going into these buildings, and it's got to go somewhere after it's done its job. Anybody see that at all? Or
I can talk to that. So, when you cut down all these trees and you pave it over with asphalt and build concrete buildings, you're going to get a heat island anyway. That's why cities are hotter than rural areas. But then once you throw in the additional heat from the exhaust from the servers or the generators, it amplifies that effect. it's a very new study, but it's built off of 20 years of data. So it's important for us to consider that. And, you know, one of the things that was important to discuss is how that will impact our particular unique ecosystem, because like the AWS site is only a mile from the Chesapeake, right? So we already know that when the Chesapeake waters get warm, they become hypoxic. And for those who don't know what that means, it means that warm waters can't hold dissolved oxygen as well. And that's why we get dead zones in the bay, and VIMS does the dead zone report every year. So we want to make sure that our species that we rely on in our ecosystem are protected. So our crabs, our fish, our oysters, all of those will be impacted by heat generated by these facilities.
Okay. That's what I read in another report too. So it kind of stands to reason that 20-year long study, that's significant information,
Yeah,
especially for that AWS site.
yeah, because it's closer to the water. The effects were measured over 10 kilometers, which is about 6 miles. The average was 2 degrees Celsius, which is like 3.2 degrees Fahrenheit, something like that. The low was like 0.3 degrees Celsius, and the high was, I think, 16 degrees.
Yeah, yeah.
So there are differences. Of course, it depends on, you know, the facility, but the average was 2 degrees Celsius, 3 degrees Fahrenheit, roughly. So that would be in addition to what the bay already experiences, and that could be significant.
Yeah. And 2 degrees is significant for the animals. They, unlike human beings, we go outside and we put a jacket on. Animals can't do that, and they can't take a jacket off, or they can't cool themselves off and stuff. So I know those degrees are significant in itself. Just as a side note, they spent 100 years trying to get the puffin back to the islands in Maine, and the water has warmed up so much in Maine that a certain fish that the puffins used to live off of has died off or moved on to colder waters. So now the puffins, the babies are dying because they don't have adequate food and they can't chew the bigger fishes. So everything has an effect, whether it's
Yeah.
1 or 2 degrees. Yeah, so that's significant in my mind.
Have a good time.
Yeah, everything's connected.
We're all connected.
I
Okay,
have a couple of comments if
sure.
folks
Now,
are ready for me. First, I would like to propose, and feel free to shoot this down. I would like to propose a slightly alternate format. And the
Okay.
format I propose is to number our recommendations, right? So we've got like recommendation 1, this, pause it. And then under that, all of the reasons why, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? Noise, heat, all of those reasons go there. So we've just got it once. And at the very end, we can re-summarize that that's what we're going for. Then recommendation 2, conduct more studies. And then we list the studies, A, B, C, D, E. Right? And then that way, it's easier to say whether or not you approve or you disapprove.
yeah, I like that idea. That makes sense as well.
It's easier to go back and reference as well
Yeah.
in later discussions, which will happen.
Exactly. Yeah,
I
because
like that idea too.
yeah, I like that idea now, primarily because this is our chance to if I could explain this, we're giving them a summary and we're listing our recommendations why not to approve or to have a pause and have a moratorium, and then we have the body of evidence that they can read as well. But having those recommendations with the details in there, and then the body of evidence to follow. And reiterate all the things that we said, so there's no chance that they're going to forget or lose or not remember what they read.
And us too, right? Like that will
Right.
remind us what all of the different things that we asked for and all of the different studies that we requested. Like, oh yeah, we did ask for G.
Yeah, exactly. Because I was going through some of it and I'm going, oh yeah, you're right. I like that
so
idea.
yay. So I'll give it a shot. Tonight I'll reformat it and send out an updated copy to y'all, if that's okay. That was the email traffic that I had with Sarah earlier, at least.
Oh, yeah. It's Sarah.
I
Are you
think she's
there?
on.
I'm
Yeah,
here. Can you guys
she's
hear me?
muted.
Yes,
Hey,
yes, we
Sarah.
can.
Okay. Hi. Yes, this is something I talked briefly with Nell. So I love this idea. And Nell, thank you. After looking at this many pages for so long, I appreciate another set of eyes for sure.
Yeah, thanks, Nat. It was a good idea. And
bet.
I want to make sure that Sarah understood that well, because you guys already spoken, so that's great.
And let's see,
this
my
is Jim.
second,
Can you
I've got
hear
a
me?
couple. Oh, sorry. I was gonna keep going. Is that okay?
This is Jim. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Jim.
I agree with Nell's point, and to the extent we can, if we can prioritize the recommendations, the biggest one first, and then go on down.
Yeah, that works too.
And that's exactly what I was thinking, Jim. We start with the pause. That's our big push. Pause.
Right.
Million reasons why. Then here are all the studies that are the reason for the pause.
Yeah, when we say pause, I think we need to stress that the reason we're asking for the pause is we need lots of information. And then once we have that information, we need to be able to study it, come up with conclusions and, recommendations for either turning this down or mitigation measures.
Right. That's exactly what goes on in a pause. The board seemed to take issue with the word moratorium because for them it was ended, and then there was just a study, and then what happens? So by explaining it as a pause, because we're asking them to do some things, some studies that take time. None of these studies are short-term studies. You can't go out there in a week and get these done. So these are long-term studies that have significant effects on the community as well as the project. So
yeah, that's why I didn't want to put a time frame on the moratorium or the pause or whatever we want to call it. It's, we need to pause to get this information and then to do this other work.
exactly.
And Jim, I made that comment as well, so I will make that change in the version that I send out to y'all, because like I said, I've got that on my copy as well.
Great, thanks.
I'll also jump in with endangered species.
Okay.
There are more endangered species there, potentially
Really?
there. It's habitat for more endangered species. Yes, it is
Wow.
habitat for the northern long-eared bat, and it is habitat for the summer roost for the Indiana bat. Those are both fully listed, whereas the tricolored bat is proposed for listing. So we've got a couple of mammals that are fully listed currently. And then migratory birds, there's actually, so if you go to Calvert County's homepage, at least right now, when I looked at it earlier, it said Calvert County birding hotspot. Right? I look at the list that we've got from the 2011 and the current. That can't be right. There are 345 migratory birds that have potential to use this site.
Wow.
That's how many migratory birds use the bay.
That's significant. I mean, that's
That's
huge.
a big one.
And the
And
fact that-
if you're going to take them, right? And Jeanette defined take really well. If we're going to take them, that actually requires approval. Authorization is the word. It requires authorization from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And I don't think they have that.
Wow.
They might get it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
just to
I
add
like
to
that.
that, I'm sorry, Abby, Jenna, do we have, or do we need to add any more information about the the tiger beetle? I think that was the one we
Ooh.
needed.
That's
further
a very
info?
good question. So I have submitted the PIA request for that specific study that was submitted to the state. I have not gotten it yet, but they said they were processing it today and it should be coming. I should definitely have it by June 2nd. Because the Puritan tiger beetle's habitat is known on the Constellation property in Sandy Cliffs. We need to know what the study submitted to the state says specifically, because if they did not consider any of the issues associated with data centers, heat, noise, vibration, sound, or air pollution on the Puritan tiger beetle in the Sandy Cliffs, then that could be a big issue, because we all know that the cliffs are susceptible to erosion, right? I mean, live in Calvert County, you know, erosion is a problem. So how is that vibration going to affect the Puritan tiger beetle, because it is endangered? And, you know, like Commissioner McQueen said when he got up and spoke, you know, and that's one of the things that I reached out to you with. I don't remember when he was talking about making 500 cars travel out of the way. So if any of you guys have any memory of that, we can add that. Or Summer, if you know where any of that information exists within planning and zoning about what was done to protect the Puritan tiger beetle back then, that will be helpful for us now. But we need to know what AWS told the state, because if all they did was say, oh, well, we moved this pipe from here to here and the tiger beetle will be okay, but they didn't consider any of the other impacts, then we really need to address how especially vibration in Sandy Cliffs is going to impact the tiger beetle.
And I
So
also
as
think
soon
it's
as I get
compelling to
that,
say that habitat loss is the reason all of these species are on this list. So further
Yeah.
justification to do a little bit more research before we cut down, say, 1,000 acres of trees.
Yeah, everything is affected by each other. Everything, just one thing is, it's a web. The web of life. That right there. So,
but Nell, if you have, you're going to add the supporting information for the stuff you're talking about. Excellent.
Yes, ma'am.
oh, cool.
Do we want to lead then recommendation number 1 on endangered and threatened species?
I would suggest
Or should
we
it
have
be
tiers
noise?
of priorities, like, you know, have like 5 or 6, you know, top priorities, and then have another subset after that. Instead of saying this one is more important than that one, it's kind of hard to decide, you know, which is the best.
Yeah, I agree with that, Dave. There are 4 or 5 really crucial areas that need attention, and then some other areas for study that we may want to add in there too. But
Yeah.
Following on to what you're saying, what are the 5? Or what's the first
Right.
tier? I say noise, water resources, threatened and endangered species.
But I think
dialogue.
that it's the pause. I think that the first step,
Right.
the first recommendation chronologically, as far as what we're asking them, is the pause. So
No,
step 1.
No, I
pause. Step
completely
2.
disagree. The pause,
Hey.
you need the pause because we need to get information. We can say, don't approve the data centers until we have answers to these questions and have completed these studies. But the moratorium or the pause is not an end in itself. And I'm concerned that the last draft of the document says that, at least in my opinion.
the fact that AWS has submitted a site plan should not detour the board from making any kind of decisions that we recommend. I think it's a concept and it's not the actual details.
Yeah, we
But
need
there-
that information to start our work. You're right.
Yeah. So that's helpful in a sense to help the board come to a conclusion as well. But I'm not worried, but I think one of the things that I was thinking about is we've been approached by a lot of members of the community, and especially the people that live around the designated areas, and their concerns are equally important, just from the lifestyle change. And I don't know if we have any data or details that would explain how people's lives have been changed by having these. This is a new phenomenon. This mega centers. Data centers have been around for a long time, but not to the extent that we see. 99. They need 99 generators, backup generators. I mean, these new sites are humongous. It's not like a Walmart store going up. So this is a very significant building project.
Well,
That's gonna-
particularly with the AWS proposal being next to a nuclear power plant, I certainly wouldn't think they need that many generators. I think that would be the point of locating next to the two nuclear units. We're going to need some, I agree, but we need to know that information.
Yeah, another reason for the pause as well is that we mentioned it earlier, but the state of Maryland is also going to be engaging in data centers legislation in the next session, and there'll be a myriad of different looks at what could happen, and a lot of it has to do with the power source, the front end or the back end kind of deals that the power people get, and the draining of the whole power grid from these mega centers going up. It's going to be interesting to see the concept that AWS comes with, because they're so close to the nuclear power plant, but they can't just get direct power from them. It has to go into the grid. I mean, it's by law. I think they have to. So it's going to be interesting how we, the back end effect of this, if it was built and up and running, the back end effect is how much power can they generate, how much power are they going to use, and how much power is that going to leave us, the rest of the state and the other 14 states that use the power, because everybody in the grid is going after data centers. I mean, they're trying to build them as fast as possible. And that's a consideration. I haven't seen any kind of studies or information based on the quality of life, and we kind of mentioned that at our meeting last time. The quality of life after a data center comes into effect, and that's scary for me.
So going back to Jim's original question, what should be our priorities? They list 4 right now in the executive summary. We could add like another blanket one for human health concerns, which would include some of the things, Abby, that you were just mentioning. But you also need to explain that these 5 priorities, whatever, are not mutually exclusive and how they are interconnected with one another.
Oh, that sounds great, Dave.
One of the studies that I have cited in here is a very new one about the health. There was a study done in Data Center Alley of the health impacts. It is cited in there, but let me scroll through and find it and I'll get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Abby, it's Rich right here.
Hi, Rich.
To both Jim and David's point, we have highlighted later in the document the cumulative effects analysis. That's still really important. It might come up into the executive summary. I also want to hit on Jim's point, to ensure that there's an alternatives analysis, which is often always missed. When, as things are evolving quickly, technologically wise, and we're also looking at a large area with multiple potential developments. I think that those 2 things should not be missed.
in the
I
comprehensive
completely agree,
EIS.
Rich.
Yes.
I completely agree, Rich. I think that's
Yeah.
absolutely critical to include in there. Especially because we know that money is a driving force, right? There's that
Yeah.
$45 million
course.
out there, right? So what are the alternatives to getting $45 million? There's got to be something other than just a data center. And I think
Yeah.
that that's one of the things that the public was telling us is that, is this really the best use of the land?
I think I learned a lot from when the community spoke, and they talked
did
about
too.
ecotourism, farming, increasing the kind of economy development around farms. People could come into the area for fresh produce. I mean, we have these little tiny farmers markets, but they can grow. Years ago, I was in Los Angeles, and we took over all the empty lots in certain parts of Los Angeles, and they grew so much food. They started a number of farmers markets as a result of the people that living in these housing projects had produced so much food. It turned into a big event because people were coming into South Central to buy fresh produce grown on previously empty lots that were, old cars and stuff. So there is something to be said about developing our own economic future here without having to dip into AWS or Amazon's pocketbook. But that's one of the things that I remember hearing a lot from the people that spoke at our meetings and also spoke at the Board of County Commissioners, that's the kind of life that they wanted. They didn't want to see this push into the 22nd century of data centers and robots and the speculation on how many jobs are going to be lost as a result of all these data centers going in and how many people will lose their jobs. It's significant.
Yeah. Abby, I should add and clarify, when I was speaking of alternatives analysis, I was speaking a little bit more narrowly in the environmental impact sense, as far as, siting and, alternative technologies or emergency energy generation, et cetera. But there ought to be alternatives also when we come to socioeconomic impacts. That's probably broader in scope, and should be discussed with certainly the commission, the planning commission, et cetera.
Indeed. So,
Abby, I found that the title of the study is Health Implications of the Rapid Rise of Data Centers in Virginia, an Exploratory Assessment. And it was published in Frontiers in Climate and came out February 5th, 2026.
wow, that's timely.
Yeah.
Did you mention that in the I don't recall reading it.
It is under the rationale for it's in the text amendment number 1 proposed about the 1 mile radius around any public or private pre-K 12 school or daycare center.
And see, Dave mentioned earlier we could bring that up in the front when we prioritize the impact on people's lives.
I know for a
Well,
couple of
human health and
resources-
well-being.
Yeah, there you go. Human health and well-being.
Also, irreversible and irretrievable commitments of resources. Rich, you know what I'm talking about. I think those are compelling words for people. Irreversible and irretrievable commitment of resources. You cannot unbuild a data center.
Right.
You can never get the forest back to what it is now.
Right.
Yeah.
And I have 2 articles that I found that I will send. One is about a mega merger of all of the energy companies here.
Yikes.
Which means it's now not like 6 companies, it's 1 company, which means it's a monopoly or there's monopolistic things happening. at least as far as my interpretation of this one article, right? Like who knows what it means. But when I saw that, I immediately thought of rates. Because already in here, we're talking about there is concern about increases to rates. Well, if we're already concerned about that, and we're not thinking of being governed by a monopoly who will set the rates, I think we need to really be a little nervous about those rates. We're going to be paying a lot for people who knows where to, use AI to make a logo.
Well, that's getting a little speculative, though. I'm not sure how much we should deal with that in this document that we're preparing. I also think we should focus on the build, no build decision rather than including some of the studies associated with the operation, like stormwater runoff collection and, dispensation of profits that, that may be further down the road, or maybe we want to do an appendix about operating conditions, but I'd suggest not including those in this particular document.
What was that specifically, Jim, again?
There's recommendations about stormwater management at the data centers and the dispensation of profits from the data centers and the use of renewable energy. Those are beyond the build, no build decision, which I think is what we're trying to focus on here.
I think we need to give as much information to the BOCC as we can, because if they're, headstrong, whatever, on getting these data centers in, if we leave out the information of how to mitigate the impact of data centers once they're in, then they won't have the information available to them. So I think we should include it, but maybe try to, say, here's why you shouldn't build.
That's that second tier you were talking about, Dave.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why, at least, I don't know if the wording is still the same, but the wording that originally was in there that I had used when I typed it was, we really pause first, do these studies, get this information. But if you're going to go forward with these text amendments now without the information, here's what we think you need to include, but we reserve the right to come back and revise these based on what the studies show. Because I think the studies are going to inform, but since they seem to be bound and determined to move forward with text amendments, I think we have to, like David said, I think we have to put those in there to say, you need to think more than what you're doing now to protect everyone and everything in this ecosystem, because right now we're not.
Yeah, this is a macro view. Yep.
That's my opinion.
Well, and that's been a problem before, because they took it on like, well, it's coming, it's going to be here, we have to move forward with it, and that's a really narrow vision of being elected to a county that has 90,000 people, not just 5. And so this is why it's been very helpful to have the public comments, because you can see some of the people that came up to talk very well. They formulated their ideas, and their dissertation of the information of why they were against it was very strong, just right off the cuff. So this is what happens when we have a very narrow-minded element here of only 5 votes, when we're talking about 90,000 people that have to have their ideas in there as well. So I think we should include all this, as much information as possible. Whether they read the first page or the second page, somewhere, somehow, people will read the balance of this document, and that's in itself fuel for more people talking about and giving more and deeper considerations to the wider view of what's going on. I mean, whether it happens now or down the road, people are still going to know this information. I think it's important that we give this information to the public as much as possible. The same amount of information we're giving to the board, the public is going to read it because it becomes a public document.
And let me add to that, Abby, the public was really denied the chance to have this conversation when the comprehensive rezoning was done, because data center language wasn't in the draft when public comment was open for that part of the
Yeah.
all the ordinances. So now we're kind of playing catch up, and like other counties, like Charles County is having this whole public debate right now on how to write their text amendments. So they're doing it in public. We haven't. And so, we're kind of playing catch up.
Yeah. So I think going back to Dave's additional having an additional tier of information, whether it's our main focus or not, I think that's pertinent information to the whole question, build or not build.
And I don't know if, I think this was the comment that Nell made earlier, talking about you can't unbuild a data center. And I had briefly walked through this when putting together everybody's comments in the draft, but Jeanette, do you mind talking a little bit more about the comment someone made, I think it was in our joint meeting, about reforestation or the possibility of it? And now with the understanding that that's probably not a plausible solution.
Yeah, so Dr. Suzanne Simard is a forest ecologist. She's fun fact, she did the research behind the Tree of Souls in Avatar. So what has been learned is that forests survive, or forests share resources through mycorrhizal networks, fungi and root systems that connect. They share resources. That's how baby trees can grow. Mother trees can recognize their offspring. They share resources to help them thrive. But her
Amazing.
research showed that when you clear cut a forest, essentially it destroys that mycorrhizal network. And it's harder to reforest because those resources aren't there to help the trees regrow. So the study that I shared with you all and that Sarah put in, thank you so much, Sarah, it quantified like how much, and I'm going to blank on the word, mature, basically how many mature trees you leave in a patch determines how well the area will regrow. And so cutting down all the trees, bad, not good at regrowth. And the more mature trees you left, the easier it was for the forest to regrow, because those mature trees were there to help the new trees reestablish and grow.
Wow. Some good stuff.
There
I think
are,
Rich has had his hand up for a while.
Rich?
Yeah, Chair, I'd like to just get a clarification from the planning staff on the consultative process for the text amendments. Summer, I don't know if you can sort of quickly summarize, how that's gone, how many times there's been consultations with the public, getting in public comments, et cetera. Are you able to shed some light on that?
I might defer that to either Tamara or Jason to speak a little bit more on the text amendment process.
This is Jason, Director of Planning and Zoning. So if you're asking are you asking what this process going forward will look like and what the public input will be?
No, just what's been done to date.
Okay, to date on these particular set of amendments, which is 26-23, there's been 3 work sessions with the BOCC and 2 work sessions with the Planning Commission. There are a set of 4 or 5 recommendations currently drafted, plus the list of, I think, 27 items that the Planning Commission came out of one of their recent meetings, and then obviously what you all are including with your letter will be at for discussion on the June 2nd meeting. Just kind of going forward after that, staff's going to request guidance from the BOCC on which one of these they want us to move forward with drafting language on. So then that'll probably be done over the last few weeks of June, with a plan of coming back to the Board of County Commissioners in early July to discuss that language, and then ultimately to the Planning Commission to discuss that language, and then a set of public hearings. So the goal is, and this may be more information than what you wanted, but the goal is to have something in place probably in a September timeline.
Okay, great. And have the draft text amendments been available for public review?
They are. We have language that has been presented to the Board of County Commissioners, is included with previous agenda packets.
Okay,
And
so
with the Planning
that's
Commission.
bound.
So
Okay.
that there is language to it's mainly on water usage, diesel generators, the fact that they have to pay for any third-party reviews, they have to pay for any infrastructure improvements. Those are the ones that are currently, that we had worked in a couple of sessions with the BOCC earlier in the year. And then we got direction to go to the Planning Commission and their list of 27 items. I think that was attached to y'all's agenda last week.
That's right. Okay, so it's available through those links on our agenda
Correct.
on the
And
website.
the plan is to, whatever comes out of the work sessions with the BOCC, to include that in the on the website, so that the public cannot find them all in one convenient place, rather than going back combing through meetings from months prior.
Okay, thank you for the
That's helpful.
clarification.
Thank you, Jason.
So I wanted
good.
to add on to Jeanette's
Go ahead.
comments about reforestation. So if they, looking at the forestry management plans, the forest managers can look at mature forests that cover large areas of land. They have the forest interior, and they also have the forest perimeter. And they're very different, not very different, but they are different ecosystems within the forest interior compared to the forest perimeter. For instance, deer hang out on the forest perimeter, they go in and out. The microclimate is different on the forest interior, et cetera. And the state does not want you to disturb forest interior habitats. And in the letter response from DEM to AWS's most recent thing said, fortunately, they didn't say you cannot tear up the forest interior. They urged them strongly to try to put the data centers near the forest perimeter. So, and if they can't do that, the options for AWS are to pay the county into a mitigation fund. And then a mitigation fund, and Jason, you can correct me if I'm misspeaking at this point, they can use that money to go and look around the county to find plots of land where they can reforest. And so the concern is that, I don't know how many acres they're tearing up. I've heard so many numbers ranging from 100 to 900, but it's a considerable amount of forest, and they probably will disturb interior forest habitat. But the county now is looking for places to reforest places, and you really going to be super difficult to reforest a interior forest habitat. You can put 10 acres here, 15 acres here, et cetera. And all you're doing is making patches more or less of perimeter forest. A perimeter forest is anything from 100 to 200 meters into the interior. And so if they really disturb the interior forest, which they probably will, it will be extremely difficult for the county to mitigate that by just simply having lots of patches of perimeter forest around the county.
Yeah, I agree.
Also, it puts the mitigation at a different location than the impacts. So the people that will benefit from the mitigation aren't necessarily the same people who are dealing with the perpetual impacts.
And one of
And
the
then
things
that
that I'm,
impact. Go ahead, Jim.
one of the things I'm particularly concerned about is a developer can say if they can't locate sites to reforest, they can simply pay a fee, call it a penalty, a price, whatever. I think we should recommend not allowing a fee in lieu of planting trees.
If we can legally do that, that would be great.
Sarah, was that in there?
I'm
I
not
thought I
sure how
read
much
something
of
about
what we're
that.
doing is legal, but
Yeah, I left in Jim's comment about that because I wasn't sure if we were going to be discussing it today, but that should still be in the draft. It's easier to read in the version without track changes on.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I don't know how to put my hand down.
Another
see.
thing
Go ahead.
I was thinking about, what do you guys think about including language about emergencies? What is an emergency? What happens in an emergency from a power perspective, from a water perspective? Because I think it's important to note that typically these facilities are defined as, what's the word? Critical infrastructure. So
yeah.
even if they turn our lights out, their lights will keep running. And I think that that's important for the public to understand that there is a distinction. Somebody else has their hand.
Where would that go now? Would that be under a study, or what would that be
Yeah.
under?
I think it would be a study. I mean, you know, it's more a discussion, what's in their proposals. And we haven't seen their proposals, so we don't know what they're proposing from an emergency perspective. We don't know
Yeah.
which emergencies. Is it drought? Is it
Yeah.
flood? Is it hurricanes? Is it torrential rains?
Emergency
There's a lot
management
of
and response. Yeah. I think Jeanette touched on a key element of that in recommending a fire station, particularly one that might specialize in emergency response situations to support not only data centers, but Cove Point LNG, the power station, and any other naturally caused emergencies that might come up. That could all be tied in.
So let me just piggyback off of what Jim was just saying. We did have emergency egress because of the location with one road in and out. So do we elaborate on, because I mean, if there, God forbid, if there's a fire, both of these sites are right on Route 2 and 4, and that's the only road in and out. So where do people go? And if the only way out is south, you're stuck on the Thomas Johnson Bridge. So, in 1980, the county population was 34,000. Now we're at 95,000, and we still only have one road. And so, like, with all of this infrastructure right within a couple of miles, if something happens, the people down there are out of luck. Right? Because either you're driving past a hazmat fire or you're stuck on the Thomas Johnson Bridge, unless you got a boat and you can get on your boat and go somewhere. So,
And those are specialized kind of fires, chemical fires with the plastics and things of that nature. If there's some kind of fire inside a data center, those are specialized fires. You can't just throw water on them.
right.
I think with the class 1, 2, or 3, whatever, A, B, or C, whatever kind of fire it is.
Yeah. So
I think
now
that goes perfectly. Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, I think that might tie in together, but we kind of touched on in one of the text amendments, like that the generators can't run for more than 24 hours in the event of a power outage, so that we're not, you know, putting that much air pollution into that area. You know, and I think trying to find it, I think it says, generators cannot be run for more than 24 hours, even when the grid is not available. In the event of grid-wide power outages, and any data center building cannot be restored before power is restored to all of Calvert's residents.
Which section is that one under?
That's proposed text amendment 11. But that doesn't address water or any of the other things that you were talking about. So if you think we need to add something to that.
And also, who defines an emergency? Right?
Well,
I think if it's left to everyone, they will all pick themselves first, and I don't know that that will benefit county residents.
Right. So that's why we said a grid-wide power outage.
We also had some discussion on the same subject of talking about water as a closed loop cooling systems, and where they were going to get their water, because essentially it's like a radiator. These kinds of new cooling systems are putting in. It's not water, but those have to be emptied out and cleaned and changed periodically. It's like the stuff in a radiator. It's not water, but it's a cooling process. And there's a lot of that going into these systems now. They call it a closed loop.
Well, if it's a true closed loop system, it doesn't have to be water.
Right.
But if it's like the cooling towers at Chalk Point power station, I mean, you've got water going through tubes to cool your boilers, cool the water from the boilers. You're evaporating a lot from cooling towers, but you're recirculating most of it, but some is going out through the air, and you're taking a blowdown of wastewater going somewhere else. And that's something we just need basic information on. Where are you going to get your water? What are you going to do with it? How are you planning to dispose of it?
Most of what I've read about closed loop systems is that the water within a closed loop system doesn't stay there forever. It goes through the system 2 to maybe 4 times, and then it's flushed out, and then a new batch of water comes in. So it's efficient, but it's not a perpetual closed loop system.
And we need to make sure that when they clean it out, it doesn't get into anything in our watershed.
Right. Because there's no drains there.
And I think what you'll be would be looking at, although I would think that the state of Maryland's going to look at this, is the net increase in use, because a larger amount of water needed for the closed system, and then the effluent, quality, temperature, etc.
Yeah.
So now, are you still tracking all these changes in your mind? I know it's quite a bit.
That's why I asked Jeanette which section, because I'm scribbling it all on my version.
Sorry, and I forgot to mention, because you brought up the need for emergency and things like that. I don't know where the Public Services Commission on this is with brownouts and ensuring that data centers are cut off first before, well, other folks on the grid, domestic uses, residences, etc. But I imagine it's a discussion that's across the entire PJM service area, which is large and interstate. But you'd bring up emergencies and water, so that made me think of fire protection amounts and sources necessary for that. So it's quite a bit more water that need to be on hand and close by for fire protection. That's typical to the planning. But it is an amount that has to be considered.
Any other ideas? Comments? So I think that the new format, it will be great in terms of a lot of these recommendations that at the end had to do with those questions that we answered to the text amendments, but they also reiterate the overall question of a lot of things that are going on. So I think the new format is going to work, and we put them in the summary in the end. Okay,
Yep, I'll have a summary up front and a summary at the end to conclude it.
exactly. Yeah. In conclusion,
Abby, I did just want to touch on the radius around schools,
oh
because there
yeah,
were a couple questions about how can we support this. I don't see it in the draft that I'm looking at, but in one of the versions that was going around, I had added a piece about ANSI standards for classroom background noise is 35 decibels. So the farther we can get noise away from a school, the less impacts it will have. And, so within that rationale for that text amendment 1 now, the 1 mile radius around schools, we do have that study from the NASA scientists from out of Prince William County, the NASA scientist who did his own study since they didn't do one. He recommended 2 to 3 miles, but because it's not peer reviewed, I backed it down a little bit to 1 mile radius. A quarter mile is not going to put the distance between the noise and the students. And Southern Middle School has a target right on it. It's going to get sound and heat from both directions, and sound waves, when they come together from 2 directions, amplify. So, then Southern Middle School is looking at having to do remediation to decrease noise.
Mhm.
Yep, exactly. Now, so that's where the 1 mile comes from. It's actually reduced from that NASA study for those of you that had put comments on about where does this, what legs do we have to stand on for this? So the farther we get from the noise, the better. But then also, if the generators, if they're going to cycle them between 10 and 4, as the proposed text amendment from the Planning Commission says, that's exactly the time when kids are in school. So then you're going to have those generators going when there's recess or kids are outside for PE or out after school sports. All of those things are going to be impacted. And we know that diesel generators and gas generators emit cancer-causing agents. They impact health, respiratory issues. So the farther we can get these data centers away from our kids, the better our kids are going to be. But then, we also detail how the noise can impact learning and development. And, people come to Calvert County for their schools, right? I taught there for almost 20 years. So we want to reduce the impact that our children, our most vulnerable population, is going to be. So 1 mile was a compromise off of the 2 to 3 miles recommended by the NASA scientist. But I just wanted to touch base on that because there were a couple questions about it. So,
Yeah,
happy to discuss.
I think that we need to bring in an acoustical consultant and find out information about what the noise generating equipment is going to be, what mitigation measures are going to be, and then base the recommendation for radius or distance on that, but we can certainly say that we expect it to be between a quarter of a mile and a mile. Does that seem
Well,
satisfactory?
Jim, if that were your kid, would you want him sitting in a school a quarter mile from a data center? I wouldn't want my kid sitting in a school a quarter mile from a data center.
Yeah.
I 1 mile was a compromise down from 2 to 3. I agree. We need
Well, we
acoustic
could say
engineers. I
roughly
agree
1
that-
mile. That we expect it to be a mile, but I think the studies, the acoustical studies and consultation that we get will guide us.
Well, right. We need to
Exactly.
have the studies, but in lieu of the studies, since the commissioners were bound and determined to move forward with text amendments instead of stopping to let us do the studies,
Mhm.
then we put 1 mile
Minimum.
for now, and then we
Mhm.
get this, if we get the studies,
Mhm.
then we can revise it based, all of those text amendments are, if you're forcing our hand and we have to do text amendments, this is what we recommend, but the
Mhm.
studies need to be done first. But
Yeah.
based on all of the evidence that's available right now, without studies specific to our unique area, this is what we recommend.
Mhm.
And I don't see how you compromise on children's health. I just don't.
And that's another thing we mentioned, and we should continue to mention about the uniqueness of this particular area. The ecosystem, the forest, the people that live there, the lifestyle. We haven't heard enough about this unique ecosystem, and I think that resonates with the population. Is that it's just not a really good place to build a data center. I mean, on paper it looks good, but when you look at what's in the forest and you see all the living things that are there, which includes people, and it's just not a really good place to put this, but they're determined to put it there. So I think it's up to us to come up with as many reasons why it's not a good choice. It's not a good fit. If there was another place, I don't think there'd be that much pushback. But because of the uniqueness of this ecosystem with the small animals that we can barely see and the birds and everything that's there and it's just not a really good fit for a data center. I mean, people are complaining out in Wyoming and Idaho that they're putting data centers out there because of the farmland they're losing. But even so, I mean, this is such a unique place that we live in. I love that area. I go to the parks there all the time. It's just so different. But it's a life changer. Like I said earlier, it's a whole life changing situation, bringing this humongous data center into creation there.
And we're a tiny peninsula in the US's largest estuary, and almost all of our economic structure is based off of the Chesapeake. I live in Chesapeake Beach, and our whole economic system is the bay.
Yeah. I was walking on the boardwalk this morning. Can imagine a data center down there. Oh,
They actually had them in the planning.
yeah, they're
allowed
talking
for
about,
them.
yeah, Chesapeake Beach is starting to talk about data centers. Where? Okay.
Were there
Well, I
any
did-
other questions?
I did hear a science fiction story that the data centers would be put up in the sky or on the moon somewhere, and they can have access to them. Okay.
Hang on, Abby, I see that Andy is with us now.
Oh,
He has 3 hands up.
hi, Andy. Andy, are you there?
Andy
You're
Rogers.
muted.
I don't know if you can unmute him.
You can unmute yourself on the button up
He's
on
one of
top
our-
of the page.
One of our members.
He's put us
Okay.
on hold. I don't know that he can hear us. Oh, Andy, are you there?
Just hit your mic. It's on the top of the page.
I had trouble unmuting. Summer might have to give him permission.
Summer, can you get him in?
Yeah, so Andrew, you should have the ability to unmute yourself now. And I assume the other person named Andy is also you. So if you could leave one of them.
Well, Andy works on unmuting. I
Mhm.
just want to again thank the authors and all the reviewers. It's really strong work. You guys did great. And Nell, good luck tonight.
Hopefully I'll like what I present. Andy,
Good.
are you back? He's not on hold anymore. No, still not back. All right. Does anyone else have anything that y'all want me to include or draw more attention to?
Oh,
Anything
I
at
just
all?
have a question, because I don't know who put it in the draft. Someone put a picture. Let me scroll back up. It's towards the top. It looks like a YouTube video or something. It says data centers are making people sick. I don't know who put that in there, or where that came from.
Okay.
Oh yeah, there was a
Yeah, I'm not sure
cartoon.
who put that in there either.
Okay, it was not me. So if
Was it me?
if we're okay with taking that out, that might make it a little bit shorter.
Oh yeah, it took up quite a bit of space. Where
It
is
could
it?
be inflammatory. Yeah.
Yeah, it was almost a AI of all things, cartoonish, you know.
I thought it might have been from like a YouTube video. I don't know.
Yeah, it's on page 7, bottom of page 7.
Oh, and then I thought in the draft that just came out, there was I think a piece was still in there about inspections. I thought we took that out.
What page?
What page is this? 14.
Which section is that, Jeanette?
It's in the last page, the last part of for a pause, the reasons for a pause. If it's still in the draft that you have, the inspections piece, because
Oh, no, I don't see it. Oh, yes, it is. Inspections 13 to 14.
yeah, one of the commissioners said that none of the county inspectors will do any inspections on the property. Yeah,
Was that
and
one?
in previous iterations, people thought we should take that out, so.
Yes, there was a guest user that suggested.
I think for whatever reason, I think that the document recorded Rich as guest.
Oh, sorry,
So-
Rich.
Sorry about that.
But that wasn't Rich. It wasn't that one.
Christopher Guest.
I met him a long time ago.
Yeah, if we can't attribute that to an individual, maybe we shouldn't put it in.
Is it?
All right,
Is
sounds
that?
like I'll pull it.
Yeah.
No, I put it in there. I put that section about inspections in there because it didn't make sense to me that we would let something be built on Calvert County if we're not going to inspect it. But if the group feels like it's not appropriate for us to have it in there, I'm good with pulling it out. So it had come out in a previous version, but yeah, I'll leave it to the group to decide.
I'd leave in this section, but I wouldn't put in that quote since we don't know who made it.
Do you know who made
Yeah.
the quote?
I agree, David. It's a good section. It's
It's-
within the jurisdiction of the county. but so subject to its rules. But I
It was
don't
one of
know if I'd
the-
lead the quote.
It was one of the planning commissioner. It was in the planning commissioner's comments from their work section or work session. So it's in one of their documents. I just don't know who said it. I think,
Okay.
and that number's wrong. It might be, the number's wrong, but the quote came directly from that planning commission work session document.
Right. I mean, the rest of the text stands by itself just fine, I think.
Yeah. Okay, let the text stay and we'll take out that quote. How's that?
Got it.
And then my only other thing was, no, you're gonna take because I thought Rich's terminology, cumulative effects analysis, I thought that was great. So, but I didn't get a chance to revise all of that and put it into one neat little, so you're gonna fix that?
You bet. I'll include that.
Okay. I'm good.
Yeah, because not only do we need the individual studies, we also need to understand how all of those studies play together with the whole county.
Exactly.
All right. Okay, let's see.
Just one minor thing on page 2, we refer to the EC as the executive committee.
Executive, I saw that.
We're not executives, Em.
Not yet. Yeah, there was an executive commission instead of a environmental commission. Second
That's
page.
my fault, Dave. Thanks for catching that.
It popped out pretty fast. And that was about it. And that data center making us sick cartoon, yeah. So what do you think, folks?
I'd love to see
Considering
the
that-
next draft.
I'll get it to
So-
y'all as soon as I can. Ooh, Sarah, will you please
So
send
here's a
me the
question.
document you want me to edit? So that I've
So
got the most, so that I'm using the right version. I don't want to use the wrong version.
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. Yes.
So Summer, so if we vote on, can we vote to approve this draft of ideas, or how does that work?
Yeah, so you
Or-
guys, you can go ahead and approve this proposal as amended. All of the amendments that you guys spoke about this evening, and then approve as amended this evening, and then go ahead and make those amendments, and we can submit this document for your presentation to the BOCC on June 2nd.
Okay.
Oh,
Are
Abby,
you
before we do
saying
that,
if, after this draft, it's done and we don't get to review or edit it further?
No, we can
That's
agree
it.
to,
I get the last word.
we get to, we get to approve tonight's version of the proposal with amendments that have been discussed. And when we get the final draft, we will review that. And if there's any amendments, we continue to add them to the amendment, and then we submit the document.
but it needs to be finalized by Friday, right? So it can go in the agenda. Summer?
Yes, to the county board of commissioners.
Ideally, yeah, by Thursday close of business, if possible, to be included on the BOCC agenda.
That's tomorrow now.
Yes.
And that's
And
4
keeping
o'clock.
in mind that, you know, new information is coming out every day. So this isn't an end all be all. This is just for your first second presentation to the BOCC on June 2nd. So don't feel like you can never have another say.
Oh,
This is just your first proposal. So you can always supplement it.
So then Chair, I'd propose that if we make a vote, then we need to characterize it as, the, May 28th version.
Well, it'll be tonight's version. We'll approve all the amendments to this proposal, with the amendments discussed, and then as now completes the final draft, we will review it again, and if there's any changes, we can make those changes to it. If not, then it's a done deal. But we will review it before it goes forward. So anytime tonight or tomorrow morning. So
Quickly as I can.
I know. So you got that, Jim?
Yes, sir. Sounds good.
Okay.
Before we vote, Abby,
Yeah.
I just realized scrolling back through, there was one other area that people thought we might want to consider taking out. And that was the federal health impact studies that discussed the testimony that Secretary Kennedy from Health and Human
Oh,
Services
yes.
gave before in the Senate hearing to Senator Josh Hawley. People were calling that hearsay, but I was questioning why federal testimony would be hearsay.
No,
I think a
that's
lot of
public
federal
record.
testimony is hearsay. And
Well, yeah.
that's where the word disinformation originated, I think. I think it's just too little substance there at this time. We've got so many other good points that I just as soon keep this in the back pocket for a while.
Yeah, there are some studies. None of them have been officially formalized, but there's been discussion at the federal level to discuss these health impacts. We don't have them from the feds yet because they're in kind of in discussion mode like we are right now, but they are forthcoming as well as that. Well, we could mention that. I mean, the health studies are important element because we know the federal government and the state government is going to be looking at these things, so they're not needed to be mentioned or at all, like because this is happening in real time, and everything's changing every day. The number of data centers going up has increased, so rapidly that people can't keep up with a lot of the changes that are going on. But we know the feds are listening and looking at these things, as well as the state of Maryland. So it's fair to mention that we know, there are studies coming down the pike that will attend to the questions about the health impacts on people and their lifestyles. So, but
that particular
point.
section refers to electromagnetic fields, and we don't have it mentioned anywhere else in our thing. If we can find some studies about it to put in there, that would be good, but otherwise it's kind of like just one more thing we're adding onto the pile.
Yeah. I thought there was a study done on the people that live underneath those big high tension power lines, the magnetic effect on women, especially.
Right, but I don't know about EMFs from data centers.
Okay.
I don't know.
Oh, and now just to be clear, the one text amendment about 50% should say renewable energy, not non-renewable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Different
adjusted.
drafts.
I made that change. And now when I send this to you, I also took
I'd like
out
to take that one out. I don't understand where we would get the renewable energy. You can't build wind turbines in the county. Not that anyone would want them. And that's because of the flights around Pax River. If we're worried about protecting land in Calvert County, I don't think we want to build a solar farm.
Well, they're going to have 2 million square feet of data centers. They can put solar panels on top. 2.5 million square feet of data centers at AWS.
Well, the fact is that there's such a tremendous amount of energy that's needed. We couldn't build enough solar facilities to run a data center. I think that's a major item there. Just there's so much power that they need.
Yeah, this would provide only minimal power at pretty great cost. I'd really rather take that out.
Well, they can also put solar panels somewhere else. They can put it over parking lot at Calvert Cliffs. They can put it over the roads. They can, you know, the less that we pollute the air around us, you know,
That's a good
if
point.
you don't, every parking lot should have solar panels over it, just like
That's a good
IKEA and Largo
Yeah,
or College Park.
I mean,
But
when
we're
I
trying to
buy
focus
pow-
on the build, no build. I mean, if this goes, you know, at the very end, fine.
Got it?
But to put it in Dave's vernacular, I think this is a tier 2.
all right. Any other,
And then let's keep it focused on solar.
yeah, I think there's a lot of cities in the West that have ordinances that require parking lots to be covered with solar and vegetation actually to capture the emissions. Okay. Any other questions, additions, discussion? I'd like to hear a motion to approve this proposal to the board and to planning commission with the amendments as discussed tonight and pending a draft edition, a pristine copy, and we will review very shortly. And
I so motion.
okay, we have a motion.
I'll
I'll second it.
Okay, Jeanette, second. Okay. Thank you very much. Any more discussion on this? Shall we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. The ayes have it. No abstentions. Okay, so that part of the meeting is done. I do want to suggest that our next meeting is June 29th at the County Administration Building. But we do have a meeting on June 2nd with the County Board of County Commissioners. So
Summer, what time should we be there?
generally the meetings are at 10. I know they had a specialized meeting and we met at 9 a couple weeks ago for
Right.
lights
Yes.
out.
I didn't know if
Yeah.
they wanted us the beginning of the meeting or after their other business was concluded.
Well, generally we're at there's announcements and some acknowledgements for groups that have done stuff in the county, and then they get to the agenda where we will be. Usually it's around 10:30 or so,
Okay.
depending on how many accommodations are giving out or commendations are giving out in the morning. So 10 o'clock, you should be fine if you're there by 10.
Yeah.
Do
And
do we know
Mr.
the
Chair.
order?
I know they've got several other items on that meeting, so it might be a little later than that.
Okay.
The agenda probably will come out either tomorrow or Friday, and they'll have the estimated time on it. So I know from an order of events, the Department of Planning and Zoning will be walking through with some of the others what a category site plan typically looks like for review. Typical things we review for. Then you guys will get up and walk through your proposal that you discussed tonight, and then staff will get back up and talk about get direction from the board on text amendments.
Okay.
Thank you,
So
Jason.
we don't need to prepare like a PowerPoint or anything. This letter is enough and that's good, right?
If you want to prepare one, you can, but I think the letter should be sufficient.
Perfect.
And just those of you who want to add details to your dissertations, that if there's questions, if there's a Q&A from the board, that would be very helpful to be there to defend the recommendations.
I will be there.
Okay. Now,
I'll do my best. I'll do my best to
Okay.
be there, Abby.
I know Sarah,
there.
you can't
Yeah.
make it.
Unfortunately, no, my work schedule, like, it's tough. It's tough to get out.
Okay, no worries. Thank you. See you there, Jim.
Yep, I'll be there.
And whatever happened to Andy? You still around, Andy? I never heard from him.
I don't see
Yeah,
his,
Andy, if he is online, you do have the ability to unmute. He was online, so we haven't heard from him yet, though.
Okay. All right. And back to the agenda. Okay. There is Summer, you can help come in here. There is item number 5. There's public comments. And there's a time limit, 2 minutes for individuals or 5 minutes if speaking as a designated representative of an organization. Any hands up, Summer?
You ready for me to take over, Summer?
Yes, Dawson, if you could, that'd be great.
All right. There are 59 people online. If anyone wishes to speak, please use the raise your hand function on Teams or press *5 on your telephone. We'll go with Sherry Verdon. We are ready to receive your comments. Please state your name and address and whether you will be speaking as an individual or as the designated representative of a group. Please use *6 to unmute your phone or press the unmute button in Teams.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
we can.
Yes.
Thank goodness, because that was quite a long wait. Let me shut down.
Oh, no.
We lost her.
Hopefully she calls back.
I think we lost her, Dawson.
I believe we did. I don't see her on the list anymore. I'll go ahead and go to the next person in line. Nick Garazino, I believe that is how you pronounce your last name. I apologize if I am mispronouncing that. We are ready to receive your comments. Please press *6 to unmute your phone or press the unmute button in Teams when you are ready.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Nick
All right.
Graziano.
I am speaking for a group and I have several questions. First of all, one, who gets electricity back first when data center needs electricity during brownout with the grid supply if the power plant cannot provide power for any reason? Number two, why can AWS go around the grid instead of going through the back end of electrical power supply? Are they building a wall to make it a front end instead of a back end to go both figuratively and literally around the change in PJM's regional power rules? Number three, if the site request is 2.5 million square foot of building, what is the total cleared area size? 4, what is the total footprint of the project? 5, what about trees and who will manage the wildlife on the campus? 6, what are the nesting season constraints with DNR? 7, how long can clear-cut area be open? And what are the DNR constraints regarding erosion control, particularly if they have to wait during the season because of, for example, nesting? 8, how long are you going to keep the area fallow after the tree clearing without the construction beginning? 9, what is the design for mobilization? 10, What is the design of stormwater control? The project needs to be designed for a 100-year runoff if they are complying with the constraints rather than just a normal runoff. Number 11, what are you doing to reduce the total area of the cleared and uncleared area? Have you minimized the construction area? 12, what is the sound deadening design? 13, what is the total buffer area? 14, what is the future design and later clear cutting area? My recommendation is do not allow clear cutting for future development during the first processes in first construction and demolition. Require the permittee to not clear cut any future development areas until those stages begin. 15, do you have funding for all 8 data centers now? If not, you should only be able to build for what you have funding for now. 16, are you building a wall for sound and aesthetics? 17, who will own the electrical connection, the back/front end? Is it going to be AWS? Is it going to be the power plant? Is it going to be the developer? And do those connections and rights transfer through if it's sold? 18, I understand it is not legal for developers to use the back end with the electrical connection. Has the county legal rendered an opinion regarding AWS using the front end instead of the back end of the electrical grid? That was 19. 20, what test wells will you have designed for groundwater runoff and water into the ground and testing the ground for contaminants? 21, when electrical grid is running low on energy, does AWS get the power before homeowners? 22, is there a power purchase agreement in place already regarding electricity? 23, does the site plan have utility access corridor? Very important. What is that location and what is the source and who controls that source/location? Last comment, if AWS says they can work something out later rather than text amendments, that is changing the site plan. They should not be allowed to do it through text amendments. They should be required. The purpose of the site approval is to require the permit requester to have all of that information now so a decision can be rendered now that's appropriate. If it's not ready now, they should not get a site approval. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Sherry Verdon, we are ready to receive your comments. Please state your name and address and whether you'll be speaking as an individual or the designated representative of a group. Please use *6 to unmute your phone or press unmute in Teams.
I'm seeing a message from Sherry on my messenger on Facebook. She says she can't, she's having trouble unmuting.
She should be able to unmute now. I have unmuted, given her that capability, I believe.
Okay, now I'm in. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So before you start my timer, I just want to say, I think you should all consider hearing us before you vote next time, because now this becomes something that's already in motion until the very next time that you meet. And that's not okay with the speed of which things are moving and we're learning. I'll start now. And by the way, 5 minutes, Sherry Verdon, don't start yet. Sherry Verdon, 5 member board of directors, Marley Ron HOA 1. So that's 5 minutes. Okay, so here we go. Good evening. I am speaking tonight as a resident, taxpayer, water and sewer ratepayer, and someone deeply concerned about the long-term future of Calvert County. At this point, I no longer believe a temporary pause is enough, and I strongly urge you to reconsider your draft. And I think we need to ask ourselves an important question. Who decided that pause was the only possible option? Why is the public conversation being framed as pause now, approve later? instead of honestly asking whether hyperscale industrial data centers belong here at all. Because when you limit a community's imagination, you limit all of the entire possibilities for its future. Calvert County residents should not be forced to think the only choices are industrialize our county or temporarily delay industrializing our county. There are other possibilities. There are other economic models. There are other ways to invest in the future without fundamentally transforming the identity of this county. Many residents first became alarmed during the 2022-2023 water sewer EDU controversy, when ordinary citizens suddenly found themselves learning about infrastructure limitations, enterprise fund pressures, utility planning realities, and growth concerns that many people had never previously understood. Now, only a few years later, we're simultaneously discussing hyperscale data center campuses, industrial zoning expansion, massive utility demand, aquifer protection, emergency evacuation concerns, Chesapeake Bay ecosystem impacts, extensive forest clearing, and major long-term infrastructure commitments. These issues are interconnected, and residents are asking a very fair question. How did we go from concerns about infrastructure strain and resource limitations to proposals for some of the most utility-intensive industrial facilities in existence? That is not extremism. That is a reasonable public question. The Environmental Commission's own draft response outlines serious unresolved concerns regarding groundwater withdrawal, cooling water demand, aquifer impacts, Chesapeake Bay ecosystem impacts, noise and vibration, emergency egress limitations, school proximity, heat island effects, diesel emissions, forest destruction, and long-term environmental liability. Those are not minor concerns. Those are foundational concerns. And importantly, this is not simply emotional opposition. The county's own referenced environmental studies identify sensitive habitats and species in and around portions of these proposed development areas, including the federally threatened and in state endangered Puritan tiger beetle associated with Calvert's unique sandy cliff ecosystems. Why is no one asking who submitted the exemption application to MDE, contradicting our longstanding knowledge of these environmental facts of our critical area and sensitive ecosystem? Who did the study? PIA requests take time, while other departments move forward on irreversible approvals, namely our master planning document that governs all, the comp plan, amended specifically to change our entire preservation model without wide public knowledge, understanding, or involvement and process. The Environmental Commission draft also points out discrepancies between earlier environmental findings and more recent submissions regarding protected species and forest interior dwelling species habitat. That alone should concern every resident, because once forests are cleared, habitats fragmented, aquifers stressed, and industrial infrastructure established, those impacts cannot simply be undone in a draft. And residents are also beginning to understand how interconnected these decision-making structures are. The Board of County Commissioners appoints members to planning and zoning bodies, economic development entities, ethics structures, agricultural preservation advisory boards, and numerous commissions that influence preservation policy, development recommendations, land use, and long-term planning decisions. That does not automatically mean wrongdoing, but it also means transparency, independent qualifications, recusals, and public accountability matter enormously in these decisions, especially when decisions being made today could permanently alter the environmental, agricultural, residential, and economic future of this county. Calvert County is not Northern Virginia. We are not Loudoun County. We are a Chesapeake Bay County defined by forests, waterways, fisheries, agriculture, rural communities, and environmental resources that cannot be replicated once lost. This is not anti-technology. This is not
Excuse
anti-business.
me, Your time is up. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll read my last sentence since we waited 2 hours, if you don't mind. I urge the county not to merely delay these projects, but to reject them entirely instead of pursue economic development strategies that protect the long-term health, identity, and integrity and future possibilities of this county. Thank you.
Danielle Carr, we are ready to receive your comments. Please state your name and address and whether you will be speaking as an individual or as the designated representative of a group. Please press *6 to unmute your phone or use the unmute button in Teams. Danny Field, we are ready to receive your comments. Please press *6 to unmute your mic or press the unmute button in Teams.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I just had a question regarding the closed loop gray water system. I think it was on page 4. They were talking about the 3 million gallons that may be used during peak summer demand. I'm just curious to know if there is an emergency. I'd like you guys to draft up something in your draft that says basically they cannot tap into the aquifer for any kind of extreme measures. Also, the monitoring devices that you guys put into the text amendment, I like that. I think that's a good idea. However, I don't want to pay for that, and I'm assuming Natalie, since it's closer to the Chesapeake Ranch Estates neighborhood, will have to pay for that monitoring devices if this does indeed actually cause noise interference with the children learning at that school zone. I'm also kind of curious about the draft about the 25% of profits going, I guess, to the residents. I'm not sure what that is going to do. Is this going to lower property taxes for the neighborhood? What's the deal on that? Also, is there any way on page 17, you guys were talking about residents who own a home within 1 mile of the data center will, get a fair market value as of January 1st, 2026, will be paid 100% of costs to move. Can that be broadened and or expanded? Because 1 mile, in my opinion, is very shallow, considering there's a 5-mile radius where if you do any kind of research online, you can hear how loud these data centers are, especially in the fact that, the generators, the diesel generators, the turbine generators have to be used. And I'm just curious to know how you guys are going to deal with this. Any input would be great. That's all I have to say.
Thomas Natelli, please state your name and address and whether you will be speaking as an individual or as the designated representative of a group. Please press *6 to unmute your phone or press the unmute button in Teams.
Hi, Tommy Natelli. I'm representing Natelli Holdings. And I just want to say I do appreciate as a developer everything that the Environmental Commission is doing. And as a developer, we also are very conscious of our environmental impact with everything that we do. And I know that's probably against the popular consensus, but as a family developer has been third generation and our family's been doing it for 45 years, we understand the importance of all impacts that we bring to these communities when we come in. A couple things though, I do want to point out that the heat island report that's being referred to is based off of land surface temperature and not necessarily ambient air temperature. So I just recommend you dig into that methodology before trying to correlate it to affecting the ambient air temperature around the facilities using that report. I am not stating that, you know, heat will not be an issue. It's just that report does not do a great job with its methodology proving it. You have to take in other environmental factors as well, just like they would have had to do with the LNG plant or the nuclear plant. I'm speaking off the cuff, and I'm sorry if there's background noise. I'm up at Boston Children's right now with my son. I'm glad you're removing the Ben Jordan video because that has been wildly discredited by the scientific community. As far as cooling is concerned, the closed loop cooling is really a closed loop, and that evaporation on the closed loop interior has a 0.001 evaporation rate annually. And when it does get changed out, it is handled by a hazmat company. So it's not discharged into our wastewater treatment plants. It is removed by a hazmat company, taken back to their facility. It's remanufactured and then redistributed to another data center. The volume calculations for cooling as of a couple weeks ago, because it's ever evolving, when air cooling is not being utilized and water is needed for evaporative cooling, the rate at this point is 5 ounces per kilowatt hour. So depending on building size and stuff like that, and it's only used at the peak heat time, the 5 ounces per kilowatt hour is the rate that's being used to calculate everything. As far as power is concerned, brownouts, blackouts, if you look at SMECO's history of transmission outage over the past 10 years, I believe a transmission level outage is about 5 minutes over the past 10 years. Not saying that I can forecast the future, but that's what we're basing our backup power off of. And diesel generators, which is what's being proposed for what I'm proposing, is heavily regulated by Maryland Department of Environment air emissions. And that permit is very strict and heavily regulated to make sure that the toxins are well below any of the thresholds that are required. As far as sound is concerned, we can demonstrate that on sites that we have been developing, our loudest point source is between 80 and 90 decibels. And by the time we hit the property lines, which are anywhere from 400 to 500 feet, we're at 50 to 45 decibels, which is most of the time less than the ambient sound in those areas. So I'm not speaking for AWS's site, just mine on offsite area A, and I know the school is a concern. Route 2 and 4, we're below the ambient threshold at 2 and 4 with our sound by the time we get to it. As far as renewables for backup, you have to understand backup requirements for these facilities as critical infrastructure are a 1-to-1 backup. So if I have a 300 megawatt facility, I have to provide 300 megawatts of backup power. I know that's a lot in diesel generators, but
Mr.
if you
Natali,
correlate,
I'm sorry, but your time is up.
is that 5 minutes already? Oh man.
Yes, it was.
All right. Well, I appreciate everything that you're doing. I look forward to meeting with the commission on the 29th.
Thank you.
Ed Winters, we are ready to receive your comments. Please state your name and address and whether you'll be speaking as an individual or as a designated representative of a group. Please press *6 or use the unmute function in Teams.
Ed Winters, I live in St. Leonard Shores on the other side of Route 4 from what would be the Amazon facility. And if you, I've seen a map with the 5-mile radius on, and we actually fall within the 5-mile radius from both sites. Moved here, retired, and moved here, and then retired. Tried to have a nice home to live out the rest of my life with my beautiful wife and my grandchildren. And I forgot earlier, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for the very comprehensive report that you've done already. Some of my questions were already asked, so I'll try to be brief. On the 24-hour limit on generators running on emergency, who's going to make the decision to pull the switch? And if the punitive item behind that is a fine, when data centers claim to make sometimes $150,000 or more a day on a rack, it may be more cost effective for them to keep the generators on and pay the fine. Also, an item I haven't done research on, but my experience tells me that electronics don't run on AC power or generators. They run on batteries in between the AC power and the electronics. Now, if that's not the case, disregard this. But I'm wondering about the batteries themselves, especially in an environment that's capable of a lot of heat. The batteries going into thermal runaway, gassing out, and causing an explosion, or the possibility of lithium batteries, which are hazard. But I thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Laura Blackwell, we are ready to receive your comments. Please state your name and address and whether you'll be speaking as an individual or as a designated representative of a group. Please press *6 or use the unmute function in Teams.
Good evening, everyone. Laura Blackwilder, 3256 Cannon Cade Court. I am speaking as an individual tonight, and I would like to thank the commission for a serious discussion on data centers. I think that you brought up a lot of good points. The ones that I heard were life-changing, and our economy and our heritage are unique, and that our land configuration is unique. And I would encourage you to continue to do the research that you're doing, because I think when you follow the research, you will find that data centers are not right for our area, and that there are multiple reasons to be very careful about any recommendations for approving a data center. I think there were a lot of good points on the call. And I think that you, as citizens, appointed people of this commission, have a huge responsibility in front of you. And I just would like to thank you for the work that you're doing, for the place you're putting yourself in, and the protections that you're trying to provide everyone in the county. And I'd just like to wish you luck doing your work. And I'd just like to reiterate a comment from one among you, life-changing. That is the decision before you as appointed volunteers of this board, impacting the safety of the citizens and the future of Calvert County. So thank you for taking it seriously. I won't elaborate because I think there's a lot of information coming to you, but I appreciate any detailed looks that you take at these requests you get for recommendations. And I think you're hitting it head on to require as many studies as you need to feel comfortable. And it's a lot of pressure to be in front of somebody who wants to build something and have to tell them they have to do something extra or have to tell them no. But
Ms.
that is within your
Blackwelder,
right. Yes.
your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Caller ending in 2706, we are ready to receive your comments. Please press *6 or use the unmute function in Teams.
Hey, good evening. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, yes.
So my name is Joe Young. I'm from Owings. I'll be speaking on my own behalf this evening. First, want to say thank you to the commission for all of your hard work. You guys, appear to be consummate professionals at what you do, and so I appreciate that. But I want to jump into a few random points. I think some great points have been made this evening. I myself have submitted some very specific and detailed questions that I have yet to receive answers or responses to. But as far as, and I want to say no offense to Mr. Natelli, but I think us in the community were tired of hearing from Natelli and AWS representatives. I spoke with both at community meetings. They were unable to answer some of the detailed questions that I had. And again, no offense, but when you go to a car lot to buy a used car, do you just take everything that the car salesman is telling you as gospel? I don't, and I think most people don't. They do their own research and do their homework, as we say. So again, no offense, but you guys are the ones that stand to profit. So I just don't understand why everyone seems to be so doggone afraid of an independent environmental and economic impact analysis. And I'll leave that there. I want to stress again the magnitude of this decision. As you guys said, life-changing. It's colossal. What's done here cannot be undone. And I guess the biggest question for myself and a lot of my neighbors that I've talked to is, why the hell do we need to rush so badly? Why do we not want to be certain about the impact to our environment, about the impact to our residents? These are, fears that people have that are just fears and concerns, and they seem to fall on deaf ears. With that, I want to turn for a minute to a post that Commissioner Ireland shared on his Facebook, Todd Ireland for Commissioner, on November 8th, 2022. He said, I quote, "I've lived in Calvert County my entire life and am proud to call this place my home. Whenever we visit another area, I always feel a sense of security when I cross the county line coming home. I will do my best to maintain the rural character of our county. I will do my best to keep Calvert County the safest county in the state of Maryland. I will do everything I can to protect the Chesapeake Bay, the Patuxent River, and their tributaries. I won't
Mr.
read the
Young?
rest." Yes,
Your time is up.
my time's up. So I just want to close with saying this will be your legacy. So make sure that we've done our homework. Thank you for your time. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
The user with the letter L, we are ready to receive your comments. Please state your name and address and whether you be speaking as an individual or as the designated representative of a group. Please press *6 or use the unmute function in Teams.
I think we should move on Second time.
Vaughn Willie, we are ready to receive your comments. Please state your name and address and whether you'll be speaking as an individual or the designated representative of a group. Please press *6. Don't believe they're with us anymore. Danielle Carr, we are ready to receive your comments. Please press *6 or use the unmute function in Teams.
Hello.
Got some feedback there. We always want feedback from the community, but not like that.
Is that any better?
Oh, much better.
Oh, goodness.
We can hear you now.
Ms. Carr, you are muted if you are trying to speak.
Oh, hi. Sorry. There it is.
Summer, can you mute everyone? I think that's part of the issue is we've got multiple microphones on.
Mind?
Is that better? No. Okay. Sorry about that. I'll let the next person go. Thank you.
Melissa Emmanuel, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your last name. We are ready to receive your comments. Please state your name and address and whether you'll be speaking as an individual or as a designated representative of a group. Please press *6 or press the unmute function in Teams.
Hi, my name is Melissa and I'm a resident of Huntingtown. I'm speaking on behalf of myself. I just wanted to take my couple of moments here to say thank you to the Environmental Commission for your time, effort, and the expertise that you all continue to bring to this issue. Like many of us in the county, I have serious environmental concerns regarding data centers, especially in our unique environment. I shared many of those ahead of this meeting with you all via email, and I heard many of you echoing some of what I shared as my concerns around species, water use, etc. I really appreciate the moratorium that you're asking for and that you're continuing to keep that right up front in your recommendations. We don't have all of the information we need. That's what I keep hearing from you all in terms of the science and the data to be able to maybe even fully flesh out these text amendments. As such, I have been organizing folks to sign a petition supporting a moratorium. And as of right now, I'm continuing to watch the numbers grow every second, but we have 4,250 signatures that are local verified residents as of this moment supporting that moratorium petition. And I will be submitting both those verified signatures and the comments that go along with them to the Board of County Commissioners ahead of your meeting with them on Tuesday. So just know that you have a lot of support behind you in terms of that moratorium. And I just appreciate you all so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Caller ending in 5369, we are ready to receive your comments. Please state your name and address and whether you'll be speaking as an individual or as the designated representative of a group. Please press *6 or use the raise your hand or use the unmute function in Teams.
Hello, my name is Jeff Dixon, and I'm speaking on my behalf, and I'm a member of Chesapeake Ranch neighborhood. Anyhow, I have a couple questions and some suggestions. first of all, we want to talk about the noise. And this has to relate with data center noise and what we're experiencing now. I live almost a mile away from Dominion. They built a 60-foot concrete wall, and we still hear the noise. It's mostly noticeable at night when the street traffic has passed. And now they want to build a data center almost a mile away from my house, the other direction. So I want to have noise coming from both directions. One of my concerns is how many they are proposing to build 4 at the Natali, and they're going to be building like 7 over by the Calvert Cliffs. And how many diesel generators are going to be built on each building? Because I've seen one of them can have up to 99 diesel generators. So that's that much more pollution going into our neighborhood air. So not only that we hear industrial noise, we're going to be breathing the industrial fumes. So that's one other thing. And also, like I said, Dominion built a 60-foot concrete wall for a sound barrier. And so don't trust that trees and earthen barriers will block sound, because if a concrete wall can't do it, that can't either. And it's even worse during winter when the trees' leaves have fallen. So what else? And they say, of course, these are backup generators. Exhaust can have up to 40 different cancer-causing substances. You wouldn't want that in your neighborhood, would you? And I was wondering on the if they decide to buy the houses or whatever.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
your time is up.
Okay, well, that's good enough then. Thank you very much.
Mr. Dawson?
My apologies for that. Die Daily, we are ready to receive your comments. Please state your name and whether you'll be speaking as an individual or a designated group member of a group. Please press *6 or use the unmute function in Teams.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Sorry. So I'm kind of late to this party. I've known what's been going on for a while. And I'm kind of vehemently against this from an environmental justice point of view. It seems that these developments are all in the part of the county where there is lower income. And so I have a very simple question. Without me having to go through your document, can you explain to me what the environmental justice situation is within your purview and what's being done to address it?
Well, actually, we haven't brought that up, but in our private discussions we have about environmental justice, we haven't gone any further from that point. Mention it as an element that it's quite possible we didn't address it because we were focusing on more of a no build concept and adding what we think is the right amount of studies and research necessary to slow down the process. But thank you for mentioning it. I mean, that's an important element to think about.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, and thank you for your answer. I'm curious as to, because there are several organizations in the country that are addressing the data center environmental justice. I know the people of White Sands who are lower income, the people in the Ranch Club and other parts of southern Calvert County. We currently, from Prince Frederick South, we currently have all the industrial infrastructure in our part of the county. What would happen if this were shifted to the northern part of the county, would there be a larger pushback? Thank you for taking my call or my comments, and I will participate even more now that I know how serious this is. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
And thank you, Di. We did mention it in our housing. One of the areas we had in our housing purchase, we did mention environmental justice. I was reminded. So it is an element that we're thinking about. I mean, it's not off the table. It's all these human elements are very important because it's a macro view that we're looking at today, and people's lifestyles and the change of life is very important to the environmental side as well. Thank you very
Right.
much, Dee. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Debbie M., we are ready to receive your comments. Please state your name and address and whether you'll be speaking as an individual or as a designated representative of a group. Please press *6 or use the unmute function in Teams.
Good evening, everybody. Nell, could you just do a thumbs up so I know you guys can hear me? Great. So I'm drinking from a fire hose here, so I apologize. But thank you for taking on this huge task. I can't tell, but it seems like your scope is kind of restricted, like we're going to do this, so give us the guidelines. But I think I just heard Mr. Ybarra say otherwise, so I'm hopeful that you can do a build versus no build type of recommendation. Mr. Natelli, I can appreciate how much you want to build here. We love our county and have moved here or lived here for a reason. I think data centers totally disrupt that mission that we have as a county. And I think the third thing I'd like to say is, does this board, or any group for that matter, have the ability to recommend a completely different solution? So for example, has Natelli or AWS or the state or any entity looked at maybe retrofitting the 12 power plants in Maryland that have been closed? They have water, cycling, they have a lot of the entities, they take care, they're clear of some of the things that are really important to us as a county. They're not necessarily near populations. They're not near schools. The ecosystems have already been cleared because there were power plants there before. So I don't know if you or anybody else has that opportunity to consider those type of recommendations, but I certainly hope that you'd be given the power to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Caller with the username L, we are ready to receive your comments. Please state your name and address and whether you'll be speaking as an individual or as a designated representative of a group. Please press *6 or use the unmute function in Teams. Caller with the username L, if you are trying to speak, you are muted. Abby, would you like me to move on?
Yes,
I know
please.
she's been having trouble getting, she's tried twice. She's having trouble getting connected. Can
Okay.
someone unmute her microphone for her?
Yeah, it was unmuted.
She has the ability to unmute. I cannot force the microphone to go active. I will move on.
Okay.
She can come back.
Von Willie, we are ready to receive your comments. I apologize, Abby. Were you trying to talk?
No, that's fine. That's fine. Let's go to the next one.
Okay. Von Willie, we are ready to receive your comments. Please state your name and address and whether you'll be speaking as an individual or as a designated representative of a group. Please press *6 or use the unmute function in Teams.
It says I'm unmuted. Am I?
Yes, we can hear you.
Excellent. Thank you. I just wanted to thank you guys for the continuing education. I haven't learned so much since college and it hurts my head, but I really appreciate even the 29 pages I appreciate every word. I just wanted to tell you guys some of my favorite parts. I don't usually speak, but your work really does need to be applauded. I love the conflict with the comp plan section. Your use of the word litigation as pertains to the county's fear, the Board of Commissioners who consistently have said, oh, do you want us to get sued? Well, they don't know what suing is because citizens will be bringing lawsuits. The accountability sections, holding them accountable by not even saying fines, just saying you're going to shut down in the text amendments if you're, if you're not in compliance, and the use of the unique geographic and environmentally sensitive area. You guys have just got away with words, and I just love it. My questions are, I love the build no build comment. I think we have plenty of information. I do disagree with y'all on that. You guys are all like the very smart people, and I'm pretty sure that we have more than enough information to say whose dumb idea was this. I'm just a lawn jockey. Even I know this is the dumbest idea I've ever heard. But at the same time, I like that you're leaving that open for more research and to do the studies to back up everything that would indicate this is a dumb idea. The question I have is with the section that you talked about with, if you could clarify the part where the option for buyout for homes, that this would not be eminent domain, that residents would have that choice. There's a lot of brouhaha right now with BG&E and eminent domain up north at the state line. And court case was just recently won against BG&E
Excuse
regarding.
me. Your time is up.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Caller ending in 2694. We are ready to receive your comments. Please state your name and address and whether you'll be speaking as an individual or as a designated representative of a group. Please press *6 or use the unmute function in Teams.
I think we lost him.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, he's there.
Hello?
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear? Okay, yes. My name is Michael Burdish. I'm a resident of Lusby. And I joined this meeting late because there was no way for me to access it. I'm wondering why we're having a public meeting and it's not accessible on my computer. It's not live streamed. That's what I'm curious about. I'm hearing a lot of nice comments. I missed the presentation altogether, so I'm flying blind. But I've heard a lot of nice comments about what was said tonight. My question to you is, all the things that you presented tonight, all the ideas, all the thoughts about what needs to be done before this data center ever gets built. When you give these recommendations to the Board of Commissioners, do they have to follow those recommendations?
No, they don't.
No, they don't. So what is the purpose of this meeting?
This is a public meeting that we created.
What is the purpose of even giving them recommendations if they don't have to follow it?
Because that's the power that we have. We make recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners at the behest of the residents here. We follow what's happening environmentally wise to protect the health and welfare of people from the environmental standpoint. So we really don't have elected power. We don't. But this is a public meeting specifically to discuss our letter to the Board of County Commissioners, where we lay out our recommendations for the data center, build or
And
no build.
when will they respond to that?
This is a long process. Just so you know, we're meeting them on Tuesday, and we provide them information, and they have to review it. And there's a whole process they go through the planning commission, to more public comments. So it's a long process, but stay involved. Stay involved. Thank you.
Well, you can understand my frustration. It seems rather rushed when there's meetings called at the last minute. They're not televised. They're not streamed. And it just seems like we're doing this pro forma just to do it. And there's not much
Excuse
meaning
me?
behind it.
Your 2 minutes is up.
Okay. Thank you.
Caller with the username Dawn, we are ready to receive your comments. Please state your name and address and whether you'll be speaking as an individual or as the designated representative of a group. Please press *6 or use the unmute function in Teams.
Okay, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes,
can.
we do.
Okay. Hello, my name is Dawn McNellis. I reside in St. Leonard. I'm right here on the water, and I will be speaking on behalf of myself. First off, I want to say thank you so much for the Environmental Committee of what you guys are doing. Y'all should definitely be getting paid for the amount of work you're putting into this. Coming from my past experience, I've lived all over the country. I've lived next to data centers since 2015. That's the main reason why I decided to leave my home state. It was getting increasingly worse, not just the heat, but the noise. Everybody was getting more and more aggravated, and people were seeming less and less happy by the days. My biggest concern with the AWS site being so large on top of a wetland that is also feeding into the different creeks around here, specifically the St. Leonard Creek. It just seems really silly to put such a big giant building right there on the headwaters that are going to feed into these multiple creeks. I mean, I can't even put a floating dock next to my pier because of the grasses that are in the bay, which I respect, but it just seems really, really silly that they're going to allow, or it's even being spoken about, having a site as large as AWS is proposing to build right there next to the bay, and also by all of these schools as well. I mean, people come here for the schools. This used to be one of the poorest counties. Now it's a very rich county in culture and in education. So my biggest question is, what is being put in place to make sure that hopefully it doesn't get built, but if it does get built, what is going to protect us? What is protecting the watermen? What's protecting this bay from the bays and the creek from the pollution? If it's been seen all the way from Oregon to Texas to Georgia, they build up these giant data centers, they start polluting, they just continuously pay fines instead of actually fixing the problem. Since we are such a unique, a super unique environment here, I just ask that there is strong language put in to protect the waters, and that if the pollution does start happening, because it will, as we have seen through the last 10 years of them throwing these data centers everywhere, pollution is going to happen. So what are we going to put in place where they just can't pay a fine like they're doing in all the other states? Oh, we pay this fine, we're going to keep polluting. Pay the fine, keep polluting. There needs to be something where we say, no, you cannot do this. I mean, we're such a small area, just, people say one drop in the bucket, but I mean, everybody will be affected here. I eat the crabs out of this water. I know multiple people in this county do as well. So my question is how sick do we have to get for anybody to believe that the pollution is real? Because it is going to happen.
Excuse
We
me?
have seen it. Thank you so much. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you.
James McQueen Sr., we are ready to receive your comments. Please state your name and address and whether you'll be speaking as an individual or as a designated representative of a group. Please press *6 or use the unmute function in Teams. Abby, do you want me
muted?
to?
Yeah, if they can't unmute themselves, that's the last caller, correct?
That is the last caller that has their hand raised at this time, yes.
Okay, let me just add one more point here, and that for everybody online, the Environmental Commission and our mission is it's volunteer in nature, and we're non-authoritative or autonomous to be able to make recommendations to the recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners. And now with the Planning Commission's authority, we're working with them. So we don't have some kind of special power. We're a group that gathers information. That's the best information we can gather to help them make the best decisions for the county. And there's other mechanisms for people to address whatever gaps are in there as well. So I encourage you to stay involved and stay active on this issue. It's not done, there's nothing built, but they are discussing building this thing. So it's important that everybody stay involved if you care about your community. So thank you very much.
Michael G., we are ready to receive your comments.
Oh,
please.
He is back.
Michael G. is here. Yes, sir.
Okay.
We are ready to receive your comments, and please state your name and whether you'll be speaking as a designated representative of a group or as an individual. Please press *6 or use the unmute function in Teams. Michael G., you should have the ability to unmute yourself at this time.
All right, we'll move on in sake of time.
Michael G. was the last one to raise their hand.
Okay. All right. So, Summer, do I have to have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Yes, your last agenda item will be adjournment. If you guys could just make a motion.
Okay. Item
I'd like to
number
make a
Okay,
motion.
Abby, I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Thank you very much. I have a motion on the floor to adjourn the meeting. May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Dave, thank you very much. All in favor of adjourning the meeting?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much for everyone that came tonight. And thank you,
Thank you,
Environmental
everyone.
Commission.
Thank you, Abby.